chat
Okay.
or what I typed going to chat. So
Okay. Cool. All right. Very good.
so
So first, I just want to introduce, do this properly. If, for those of you who don't know, Andy Falco is the man, the myth, the legend, and I'm not just talking about his goatee. And he's also a good friend of mine as well. But I'm just thrilled that he's asked me to be part of this because Andy's got all this background when it comes to the pet industry, and it's a very granular knowledge. This is what I'm so excited about because so many people have these just kind of high-end strategic ideas about marketing, but have never implemented them. They don't understand what an autoresponder is, let alone how to make an autoresponder happen or use a lead magnet or things like that. And by the way, if these terms mean nothing to you, that's totally fine. But Andy is a master at implementation and understands not just the high-level strategic thinking of marketing, but also how to make them happen on a click-by-click basis. So for that reason and many others, let me now turn it over to Andy Falco. Andy, thanks, buddy.
no problem. I'm back.
Yeah, that was weird. Wasn't sure what was going on.
Oh, it's the craziest thing. You gotta love this Google, YouTube stuff. They will get it all down. I saw that you were in the Facebook page asking about, on the Webinar Jam Facebook page. I should have asked them if anybody else is having any glitches with this, but I appreciate that introduction. But it took a lot of work to get to that point, and the good news is I think I was getting ready to talk about, a few minutes ago, talk about the expert testimony. And what I used to have to do in order to land clients was that I would go and travel and speak and gather business cards and then try to call people later and then obviously getting a hold of them and then not calling back. And I would get maybe 1 or 2 cases a year on my expert testimony in dog-related court cases. And it wasn't until I learned the power of creating a list, crowd grabbers, what we talked about before. In other words, when you're speaking, you get people to opt in through some second or third party application using some website or something like that, or text your name and email address to a certain number and that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until I understand the importance of having a list to building a relationship with people before they decided to purchase and buy from me. And that really was a game changer because, like I said before, I'd get 1 or 2 a year. And I think that even there was a huge blank spot there for maybe like 9 months. I didn't get 1 customer. But now I get probably 4 to 5 calls a month for people asking me to testify and research some of their cases.
What a huge change.
It's gigantic. And it applies to anything. Right? It applies to whether you're a chiropractor, it applies whether you're a dentist, or any product or service that can be offered in the pet industry can learn how to use the tools that are necessary to create a list, how to create a relationship with your list, and those things that go along with it in building your platform and your expertise and that kind of stuff. How has building a list affected what you do as far as a book consultant and a marketing consultant?
Well, I think a list is something that allows us to go from the willy-nilly marketing technique, which is, I'll just try whatever, however, whenever, and maybe somehow I'll get some business, to systemizing your referrals. And it's played out for me both in my book marketing as well as it has with our mastermind group, the Masters. And then, of course, with my marketing clients, the clients that engage me to assist them. And it's made really all the difference in the world because it allows us to, yes, establish a relationship early on and then nurture and build on that relationship. I remember the Harvard Business School, or maybe it wasn't Harvard Business School, but there was a study done in regards to how many marketing touches were required for people to engage in a product, and what the study showed is that the majority of people buy a product if after they've engaged with it anywhere between 5 to 12 times, or they've been exposed to 5 to 12 marketing messages. But the vast majority of salespeople, business owners, account managers usually will stop after reaching out to somebody once or twice. So you get this huge disconnect, right? If it takes 5 to 12 touches with a product in order to engage with the product, why stop at 1 or 2? Having a list allows you to continue to do those touches and to automate them, right? So it isn't 4 million phone calls.
So would you be surprised if I told you that I was at one of the world's largest trade shows for the pet industry, and I visited maybe 100 or 200 different vendors. I can't remember. I mean, it's gigantic. It's huge. And not that I could speak of, that I could actually say that I saw them using any kind of crowd grabber, list building technique or solution. I didn't run into one. Do you think that's surprising that in today's world that people that are trying to sell a business or service or a product don't have that kind of thing going on, especially at something like SuperZoo? So
it should be surprising, but no, I'm not. I'm not surprised, and I'll tell you. I'll give you two reasons. One is several years ago, my good friend John Writing and I traveled to Las Vegas, and we went to the trade show of trade shows. Okay, it was a trade show for the trade show industry, where the trade show industry there were gads and gads of huge booths, and they were showing off the latest in technologies and all of these different designs, and it was fabulous. It was really a gorgeous thing to go to. And I would say that at that event, probably less than 10% of the booths were employing any list building technique. It was solely based upon, let's see what one-on-one relationship we can establish right now at the booth and see where that goes. Or it was willy-nilly marketing. It was branding. It was just like, we're just getting our name out there, right? And think about how much money is expended in just getting the name out there. So that's number one. The second one is the trade show statistics show that 80% of leads are developed at a trade show are never followed up on, not one, let alone followed up 5 to 12 times. So that's why follow-up is such a huge deal, and that's why what you've got to talk about, Andy, about in list building is really incredible when it comes to trade shows.
Okay, so I'm just going to go to the presentation that we have here just really quick to talk about, to show what a list is. Just the way I didn't know what a list was when I started, and actually I ran my business for 20 years, or I knew what a list was. And when I heard, I go, oh my gosh, I have not done this. Are you kidding me? And so I would go to people and say, where's your list? And they go, what is a list? I actually would before we go on camera, because I interviewed about 25 people over there, and would ask them, hey, so where is your list? Where do you keep your list? How do you develop a list? And most of them said, what is the list? And so I qualify, or I put my list into 3 categories. And I'm not sure if you do the same thing, but I just thought to keep it simple, because I guess you could break it down into even a smaller bucket. I'm sorry, I thought you said something.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so so I have a list of prospects for those who have shown interest or in your service or your product. So that would be somebody that simply, maybe at a gas pump, because I have, something on the side of my truck that says Falco Canine Academy, or somebody maybe saw an ad on a pizza box, or heard from somebody and called us and says, hey, I was just wondering about your dog training and what it is that you guys do and how much it costs, that kind of stuff. That would be somebody who's shown my service of dog training. And then the second bucket is a list of qualified prospects, or those who have taken a step or taken action into the sales funnel. In other words, they've asked, hey, can you send me an email that gives me more information? Or if you're on a Facebook page, I have something on there that says, hey, if you want to see a report on how to training your dog with love and respect, they actually had to take action. So it was more than just a phone call. They had to do something for it, which for some people, that's a lot, right? You can see ads on Facebook all the time, but you never click on them unless you're truly, truly interested and really want to see what it is they have to offer. So in that case, that person's even a higher value for a dog, right? It's a higher value. It means that they're working harder to find out what it is you have, and they're more likely to be a paying customer down the road. And so those are qualified prospects. And then a list of high value customers are those who have purchased a product, even if it's the lower end. Say they're in my, get into one of my $7 training products, like training German Shepherds for rescues and shelters, which is like $7.99. So if they've paid for something of mine, whether it's a book or a low level membership program, or even our obedience class, they move into the high value customer. So it's a list of people who've either showed interest, they've taken extra steps, or they've actually purposed, they've something from us. And so that's what I qualify are people in a list. Does that differ from anything?
No, I think that's great. In fact, I would say that, people who haven't developed their list, these are the three categories that you want to mess with, right? And because they tell you enough of what you need to know to get going. But down the road, you're going to segment that list even more. You don't need to start there, but ultimately you'll segment them by product category, for instance, that they bought, so that you specifically know, okay, these people bought dog food from me. So maybe that means they're a good customer for some supplements that relate to dog nutrition, or bowls, or other things related specifically to dogs. And then down the road, you might even segment even more by saying, okay, they bought, let's say if I've got a brand of dog food, and there's dog for, a brand for puppies and ones for dogs in midlife, and then another brand or another dog food for old dogs. By having your list segmented in that much detail, then you know far better what to offer these people. Don't sell the ones who bought puppy food some product that's designed for older dogs. Or if you're going to do that, wait 5 years, right? Or wait an appropriate amount of time to do that.
Later on, there's a segment that I have that talks about your perfect customer, that they're not only the people that you like to sell to, but they're the people that are in the pain that you can solve. So if they have a young dog, then like you were saying, the pain that they have is that they need to feed a young dog. Eventually that dog gets old, right? So they're no longer in the bucket of puppy food or midlife food. They're in the elderly dog food. So that pain changes. That perfect customer changes based on whatever they're like to call it. Do you have another name for it besides pain? Because I know that sounds very strong.
You're just trying to solve their problem. What's their problem? Let's solve it.
So let's go right into how do we build a list, and that's probably one of the things that was my first question. Is how do I build this list that supposedly I'm supposed to be building? Because again, when they told me what a list was, I go, okay, great, get that list. I mean, how do I build it other than just waiting for the phone to ring? Because it sounds like to me I was still doing the same thing. But there are strategies to building that list. And I'm going to name a few, and you may have some of your own. But particularly now that Facebook is so popular, this is really, really easy to do, because on Facebook you can make free reports available by sending them to a page where they can download a free report. Writing in just a few minutes, but I've written 6 books myself, and I use those books now, those #1 best-selling books, and use them in a PDF form and offer those. And when somebody goes to another website, they can download a free book. And I give it to them for free. There's a specific reason why you want to give it to them for free, is because you're trying to build trust. Free training videos. I have probably 1,000 training videos, and I offer those up from time to time. Somebody that has a product that sells in stores, you can offer a free coupon by opting into a campaign where you get their name and email, and then free samples. That was the thing that I found at the Super Zoo, is that people were giving away free samples of their product, but not requiring people to give them their name and email address, which I thought was just strange, right? Before, I was alongside of them doing the very same thing, but now it seems strange that they're giving away something of value, but not requiring a name or an email address as to get that. And then something else of value, perceived value. Do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I think that's all great. And for those people watching, what Andy's talking about is something that in marketing terms is called a lead magnet. It's something that you can put out there that will attract leads to take action, or to attract people to identify themselves as leads. And so those are all really valuable. And it depends on what industry you're in as to what types of things that you may be able to offer. For my publishing clients, for instance, a lot of times what they'll do is offer a free version of the audiobook or a free chapter of the book. And then it allows people to kind of preview the book. And if they like the first chapter, they're going to probably want to engage in the rest. And I would say lead magnets play out in any industry. And those are some really great examples you've given, Andy.
So at a trade show like Super Zoo, or any other trade show, if somebody is in any other kind of industry, how can those free gifts or those things be done? How can they do that at a Super Zoo? On Facebook, it's easy, right? You just have an ad and they click on it. It sends them to a landing page and it says, give me your name and email address and I'll send you this free report. But at a trade show, what are some, for somebody there at a booth at a table, people walking by, how can they make it easy for somebody to opt in or get something for free after giving their name and email address?
Yeah, so I mean, the old-fashioned way is, has always been the fishbowl method, right? Here's my fishbowl. If you drop your business card in there, then we'll get you, this free gizmo or this free sample, or send you this other product. And the fishbowl is not a bad idea. It's certainly better than not having any other method. And of course, with proper signage and a proper incentive, it can be effective. However, only if somebody then takes those business cards, puts them into some sort of a CRM or follow-up system, so that those leads are actually followed up upon. And if you're going to deliver this incentive or this lead magnet digitally, then obviously that has to get entered into the system. But I think there really are other methods. Oh, there he goes. There's his business cards. Are those all Super Zoo?
This is from about 5 Super Zoos ago. Still sitting on a table.
Yeah, have you followed up with every one of those, Andy? Are you part of that 80% statistic? But not anyway. So that's one way. But the great thing is now you've got a number of electronic ways to do this. It's much easier. People, for instance, have often had like a little a tear-off sheet where people can enter their name and their email address. But then when you go to transcribe those or get those into your CRM system, you find that the email address, the handwriting, you can't read it, or someone gave you a bum email address or whatever. So we've got a number of electronic tools that we find really useful, one of which Andy can share is something called a crowd grabber, and which basically allows people to digitally opt in order to get that bonus, that free thing, that lead magnet, in exchange for giving up their mobile phone number and their email address. And if they do that, then boom, they get the product information, the bonus, the whatever it is, instantly. And they're also instantly in your follow-up system, so that your system could start following up with people literally while they're still walking around the trade show floor in a completely automated fashion. And you could use that to recall them back to your table tomorrow for some other offering, or to show up for a pre-conference workshop the next morning, or show up for drinks that evening because you're going to, show some high-end product or whatever. These tools really change things, and we need to be we need to be leveraging them more often.
Right, right. Yeah, that was a game changer for me in doing those lectures. I would be speaking in Vegas at either Caesar's Palace or Planet Hollywood to 500 to 700 people. And before, I would just wait for somebody to come up and hand me a business card, or see me in the back room and ask me a question, and hopefully they would ask for one on my business card, which would happen. But again, maybe 10 out of all those people, because everybody's busy. They want to get out and have a beer. They're in Las Vegas after all. And you would lose almost everybody, even though they were interested. They really, I consistently had the highest ratings of the conferences for my lecture and what I talked about. And I just you to know that was interesting, because they would say that it was interesting, but yet still only get 10. It wasn't until in the presentation I put a system in place that on one of the slides it said text your name and email address to this phone number, and you'll get the slides to the presentation that I'm giving to you today. You don't need to keep notes, you don't need to do anything, just put your name and email address and you will get all these slides. At that point I got about 70% of the room that I was able to continue to communicate with, and that's when everything began to skyrocket. And it doesn't just work for people that do consulting like I'm doing, it works for and so that's what Everett was talking about a crowd grabber. You're using a system that's easy to use. Everybody now knows how to text, right? So they text the name and email address to this thing, this program, and you get their name and email address. In return, they get the slides. You follow through with exactly what you said you're going to give them. As a matter of fact, later on, I would give them another email that would give them a free copy of my book, Dog Sniff Evidence, that they were all happy to get. And to this day, I still get calls from 2 or 3 lectures ago that I gave from somebody who remembered my speech, and they had the information. It was easy for them to find me and contact me, or they forward it to somebody because they have somebody in one of their groups that says, hey, I'm looking for a canine expert. You know one? Oh yeah, there was this guy in Vegas. He emailed me all this stuff, and they forward it forward. So it is amazing what automation does for you and makes it so much easier. That stack of business cards, I'm not kidding you, that's from probably 5 Super Zoos ago, and it's sitting back there on this table and been sitting there. Nobody's inputted it. I've not looked at it. It's just sitting there. And I'm sure all of you who do these trade shows have that same pocket full of business cards that comes home. If it doesn't get washed in the washing machine, then it just ends up on a shelf somewhere or in the round file at some point. But there's all kinds of systems in there. And following this webinar, once we get everything working so you guys can actually watch this on the Webinar Jam, I'm going to come back in a couple weeks to kind of dig deeper and help you understand how to use some of these tools. And I just want to give you some insight as to what it is that you can find now with Everett's help. But a crowd grabber is one of those things. Another thing is a QR code. If you don't know what a QR code, it's that weird looking black and white thing that has a bunch of dots on it and that kind of stuff. And your iPhone will read it and will send them to the very same type of campaign. So at the trade show, that would be one of my solutions, that either on the banner that's in your booth, or maybe on a display that's on the table or something like that, tell them to just scan the QR code and input their name and email address, and you'll give them a free that you're trying to sell, or a coupon to purchase the product, or for you doing scanning the QR code and putting your name and email address, I'll actually give you something from here, from behind the booth, whatever that may be. So those are some of the strategies that I know for sure you can use, and I'm sure there's others.
Yeah, in fact, I was just going to show this. This is something developed by one of our mastermind groups that we participate in. And they were offering a marketing think tank to people. And so the way they did it is they put together a flyer like this that kind of first showed the people that were in the group, some of the benefits and accolades and things like that that the group has received. And then right there, front center, is a QR code that could take them into the funnel so that they could opt in and begin to receive information about it. So there you go. Just happen to have that one handy.
Exactly what I'm talking about. And I saw none of that.
QR codes, I'd have made sure to have it, but it's there. There you go.
Yeah, yeah. But it's just so funny. I don't think maybe I saw but a couple QR codes, and I think especially, and I hope I'm not offending anybody because I'm 54. But a lot of the that are 40 years or older, they're going, what's a QR code? I don't know. I don't know what that is. How does it work? And how do you get it to go to a page and all that kind of stuff. It really is not that hard, and it really is one of the tools that a lot of people do know how to use now, regardless of whether you know how to do it or not. It's like when I teach people how to use Facebook Live, they that don't use Facebook, they go, oh, that's a bunch of BS. Who uses that? Well, 1.5 billion people are on Facebook, and that's the people that want to buy your product. If they know about your product, they would buy it, but because you're not on Facebook doing what needs to be done on Facebook, then that's not who's buying your stuff right now. So the technology, I think, scares people, and I think it worries them that if they don't understand it, then it's not going to work for them. Candid, I didn't understand the crowd grabber when I started using it, but I know that it worked for me. It changed everything.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I was actually finding a trade show example for people, because one of the things we've enjoyed doing, and let's see if I can pull it up in my Dropbox. I'm not sure if I can. I can. Let's see if I can do a screen share so we can see this.
All right.
Can I do a screen share? Screen share. We'll do it back to this screen. I know that'll be confusing, but we'll do that. All right. And are you seeing my seeing a graphic right now?
Yes. Oh,
okay.
Yes.
So this was another flyer that was done, and in this case, the cool thing is about a crowd grabber or whatever. What you want to do is employ the methods people will use, and not everybody's comfortable with QR codes, and for that matter, not everyone's comfortable with texting, but 95% of people are nowadays. But what we did with this particular flyer, and I can't make it any larger, I'm afraid, is we went ahead and included a QR code, a way to opt into this by QR code, another way to opt into it by going to a website. They could also text to it. And if that wasn't enough, if those weren't enough options, they could also call this phone number and just leave their name and email address. All this, and this type of thing was on a flyer at the trade show, and it was also on on the signage of the booth of the trade show, so that they had multiple exposures to that to opt in for it. So there you go. Back to you. I'm not hearing you suddenly. There you go. I'm stopping sharing. There you go.
That's good. No, it was me. It was me because the dogs were barking. I have the dogs outside just so that it lets you. But they were causing a little bit too much ruckus, so I had to mute my mic, and now I'm back. No, that was a really good example. I completely forgot about being able to leave a voicemail with your name and email address. And you know, the one thing that's really funny when I'm doing those large groups like that, my phone actually signals me when somebody opts into that campaign, that, you know, name and email address thing, and my phone just buzzes and buzzes almost the entire time that I'm giving my lecture, and it's really, really cool. The other thing you can do, and I did that the last one, I think it was Planet Hollywood, that I had a sweepstakes that added in, and I had a tool in the program that I used that would select somebody randomly, and I gave away a copy of my book and signed it and all that kind of stuff. So it's just another people to put their name and email address in there.
Yeah.
So let's just.
Hey, I'm stealing the screen one more time, because I was going to show people. Sorry, with the way it is. Are you seeing a graphic now? Yeah. So this is that same trade show, but this is the booth that they used, and there's the same opt-in things on the side panel of that booth. So people could, if they wanted to, without even going and talking to somebody at the booth, they could go ahead and opt in using SMS, leaving a voicemail, or scanning. And yeah, that QR code was big enough that they could probably scan it from 15 feet away.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Nice. Good example. Thank you. All right. Let's talk about the next thing. And because we've talked about the list, how to start building a list and what some of the tools are. One of the things, the next thing that I was surprised about when I was interviewing people, because I interviewed about 20, like I said, 25 people and talked to more. And about how you came up with this product or how you came up with the service that you're trying to offer. And the one thing that I have learned recently, and again, probably within the last 3 or 4 years, is that the power of story. How I started, or how I started the Falco Canine Academy. That it was because of my police dog. I was a police officer with the city of Anaheim. My dog saved my life, and I talk about that. And then I owed it to him to make sure there was a better way of training dogs, and using that story, a true story, to show people a little bit about myself, to be a little bit open about things that maybe made me uncomfortable, but wanted to make sure that people understood who I was, where I was coming from, the emotion behind building something. And being able to use that and talk about it, just again, is another one of those things that are not. So with the list building and the crowd grabbers, that brought it up a notch. And then using my story was the second part of that. So let me just share my screen real quick, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. That aspect of story. And there we go. All right. Sorry, it takes a few steps to get everything back on here again. And this is my quote: "Your story will create more opportunity than you ever thought possible." And that is the truth. I've become a speaker. I've been asked to speak on stage because of my story. I've been on television because of my story. National Geographic, Nat Geo Wild, the Hallmark Channel, ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, and a number of them. That all happened when I began to use my story. And a story essentially puts a face and name on your product. So, in the past, they would just sell the dog food. Here's the dog food. It's good for your dog. Just eat it. Just give it to them. Or a treat, or whatever the case is. But now, because our world has changed a little bit, people want to know more, because video is so prevalent on the internet and that kind of stuff, that they want to put a face. They want to put a story. They want to know that they can trust the service, is because it's supported by a good, strong story of overcoming something, right? That's one thing. The other thing is that it must be authentic. Somebody checking on it and find out that you really weren't, like for me, that I really wasn't a police officer with the city of Anaheim. Now, I've had people, apply for jobs with me who said that they were in the military, who weren't in the military, and it's very easy to find out whether they thought so or not. But you want to make sure that your story is authentic, that there's either a picture of you in uniform or a video that is true. So you don't want to make anything up. Will increase engagement because people want to ask the next question. Wow, how did you feel when that happened? Or did it work? Or, it begins the conversation. It will begin the process of allowing prospects to know, like, and trust you. And that's the key to marketing today, those three things. People want to know, like, and trust you. And then lastly, it can be the basis for the book, which we're going to talk about, because your book could be used as a lead magnet. And so I think for me was essentially one of the biggest game changers for me. It just really took everything to a whole new level. And the day that I learned that, I was on a hot seat in San Diego at a marketing course that I was going through. And it was so powerful, that time on stage, that from that point on, because they said, hey, dude, you got a story. You got a story that's not only good for people to hear and learn from, but it's going to make your product and your service just blow up and just take it to the next level, which is very, very true.
Yeah, I think you're definitely on it. A story is so powerful. Think about the Anheuser-Busch commercials over the last many years, and what you'll find now is that they're trying to engage people not over the taste of their beer or the look of their cans or anything like that, but it's like puppies, running home to what are those, Clydesdales, right? The puppy running home to the Clydesdale, or they're just doing it so much more around story. I have a client of mine who's a financial advisor, and a big part of his story, sadly, is how their first child was born and lived for just a couple hours and then died, and he tells that story when he is speaking. He shares that story openly in his book. He shares that story openly with his clients. And the reason he does it is because it allows people to see, what he's gone through, who he really is. And then when he can talk to people about things that are more important than money, he's a financial advisor and he can talk to them about the things that are more important than money. They see him, he's not some money grubbing guy that just wants their money to invest and that type of thing. Story's super powerful, super powerful.
Yeah, it's not easy in the beginning. I know that for sure, because I was sharing things about, when I had put my dog down and I bawled like a baby. As a police officer for 24 years, it's not easy to get up in front of people and talk about that, but it becomes easier. And then people come up to you. It's amazing. People come up to you and they say, oh my gosh, I've never shared this with anybody else, but men would come up with me, but I bawled when I had to put my goldfish to sleep. I mean, they come and tell you these amazing stories, and it just opens up that door. And I think one of the things that kind of comes from it, they go, wow, I really kind of like you. What is it they can buy off of you? Because your story was so powerful. And that's kind of that thing. You were at the event that I spoke on stage in San Diego, and then people were getting, hey, can I buy something? Is there something you're selling? Because I want to buy from you now. And I go, oh, I have nothing to sell. I just was up there telling my story.
But is that they didn't want to buy from you because you had found their pain or their problem, aggravated that pain or their perception of that pain, and then you offer them a product to take away some of that pain. That's not why. They wanted it to buy from you because they engaged with you and they wanted to support you.
Yeah, it's the truth. Really.
How powerful is that if you can combine that with, here's your pain and here's the solution for the pain, and here's the story about how we got to this solution for the pain. Bam, they're in it. It just kind of related to it in a weird way. I think about at church when we have all these famous hymns that people have sung for years and years and years, but when someone gets up and tells the story behind the hymn, that hymn, which I might have gotten a little bored with before, suddenly I'm engaged with it. I'm just like, oh my gosh, really? That's the story behind it? I want to be more engaged with it. That's true with our products too.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so based on that story, concept, I want to talk about a book. And this is another thing. Before that event where I was on the hot seat, when I talked about my story, I had never considered really writing a book. I'd written a couple manuals for the dog training and that kind of stuff. I had papers. I wrote it for a magazine and wrote articles and that kind of stuff. But I never thought I would ever be able to write a book. Well, after that event, when they talked about my story being one that needed to be heard, I began the process of writing a book. And although the first one was a little bit more challenging, once I learned how to do it the right way, it was so much easier. And I realized I didn't even have to write a book to write a book. But the book is the fact that I have a book now is just so extremely powerful. And again, that's the next block that has changed everything. And there was one person at the Super Zoo, one person that had a book. And I asked him, what are you doing with that book to help you capture leads? Well, I'm selling it. I go, how much are you selling for? And they go, $14.99. That's the wrong thing. So we're going to talk about this just a little bit in detail. And Everett is the right person to have on for talking about this, because this is how he helps people. But just let me tell you why it's important to have a book if you're selling a product or a service. And that is, it sets you apart as an expert in your niche. And that is for sure. I was a very darn good 25 years. Didn't see a lot of television, didn't see people clamoring or knocking down my door to train their dog necessarily. But once I wrote that book, things began to change. I now became the expert in my area, my niche, which was dog training. And then shortly after I wrote the book, a country in the Middle East asked me to, for a contract to train all their dogs within their country. So that's pretty much the power of a book, right? The book is a ticket to free publicity, that's for sure. Once I wrote the book, it was much easier to get on TV, because that's one of the questions that they ask you. Have you written a book? What's the ranking as far as a bookseller? And I said it was a #1 best-selling book. And they said, oh, you're on, right? They didn't even ask me hardly any questions. They didn't pre-qualify me. They just wanted to see that I did have a #1 best-selling book. So they assumed I must be an expert. And so the next thing I know, I'm in front of the camera. There was no that they sat me down and asked me what they were going to talk about. They just put me on camera and started talking to me. The book is a great lead magnet, which you can give away like we talked about before. And a book will gain you access to other experts' field. So Everett, what did I miss as far as?
I don't know, man. You stole all my thunder. Those were all the things I was going to say. No, I was going to talk about, I had a couple quick stories to do with books. So one of them, here's one book. This is The Way of Wealth by a great guy named Frank Lies. In fact, he's that financial advisor I was telling you about. And he trains financial advisors and speaks around the nation. We want to talk about the power of books. Well, he's had this book in his head for decades. We actually got it out of his head and turned it into pieces of paper. And as a result, his speaking income increased in multiples. I don't want to tell you exactly how much. I mean, I could if you want to talk to me privately, but it went up dramatically, several times over, simply as a result of that book. And the only thing that was really done differently in his marketing in the year this book launched was the book. And then I would think about something a little closer to the topic area. So this is a book called There Are No Horseshoes in Heaven by Carol Herder. And some of you may or may not be familiar with them. They are part of, and I don't know if you can see the logo here, Cavallo. And what they make is a line of products for horses. And one of their specific products is they make boots for horses. So this book is about barefoot horses. Carol and many people in her kind of tribe believe that we're not best served by putting horseshoes on horses, that they, God didn't create them with metal things on their hooves, and they can run in the fields and do just great without them. But when they go to ride on hard trails or across rocks and things like that, they may be served by having these boots. So this book is designed to help educate people about the advantages of barefoot horses and how it's so much better for their health. Well, why was this book created? It was certainly created to educate people about this. And of course, inevitably, it also has spurred boot sales and the sales of other products in their brand. Because now people reading the book are engaged with the subject matter. They're also engaged with the author. They get to learn her story and learn more about her and why and how she created these boots, these products. And now they're become much more loyal customers. And guess what? Loyal customers buy more and buy more often. And so I just thought that was a good example for us, since we're talking about animals. A book hugely powerful, hugely powerful. And that's even if it isn't a bestseller. Even just a book, for crying out loud, sets you way apart from your competition. In fact, what we find is if you have a book, there really is no competition. And then the icing on the cake is if you can do a bestseller launch. You can see this was an international #1 bestseller. And in fact, really all the book projects we've done have become bestsellers or international bestsellers.
Right. So I can hear people now talking, much like I did when I was first presented with the idea of possibly writing a book. I am not an author by trade. I am a dog trainer, or I'm a police officer, or what else is in here? I'm a
salesperson or a marketing
dog toy manufacturer. Well, I have no business writing a book. And it's so much work, and I don't know how to spell, or whatever the case is. How do you address these arguments against writing a book, that it's too much work, that I don't know how to do it, and all that kind of stuff? I'm not smart enough.
Well, okay. So first, you probably know your product, and you maybe even your segment of the industry better than almost anybody. You have expertise. It's just a matter of determining what is that expertise and then getting it out of you. So Frank had this book, in his head for decades. It was just a matter of us getting it out of him. And it's not hard. So this was my first book, called The Video Tractor Beam. And, a dirty little secret, which I'll reveal to your audience here, Andy, is that this book went from an idea to an Amazon #1 bestseller in small business marketing. Okay, a very, very competitive section of Amazon. But it went from idea to #1 bestseller in 30 days. And I'm not talking about 30 days of, oh my gosh, I need to write forever, forever, every day. In fact, I dictated this book in a matter of a few hours, and then spent the rest of that time just kind of cleaning it up, doing the artwork and getting it on Amazon, and doing some promotion tricks that we have. And that's the deal. The book doesn't have to be long. Nobody asks me if I tell them I'm a #1 best-selling author. You know, it's like, okay, now it's in four books, but my first book was pretty thin. Okay. Nobody asks me how long that book is. Nobody asks how long it took to write it. They do want to go through and learn from it. And they do. Andy, you've got some examples of books, and I think you've created some of them pretty rapidly. The deal is if it's in your head, it just needs to come out in some way. And that can be dictating to an iPhone app. It can come out in so many different ways.
Yeah, the one example I want to show you, this isn't one of mine, but it's there's a book here. It's a #1 best-selling book. It's Jason Jordan, a friend of ours, helped this gentleman launch his book. And it's #1 best-selling book. It's on Amazon. It's on Kindle, and it's a printed book. And this is what Everett does for a living. He helps people through this process. So if you need any help and just don't think that you can do it, Everett is the guy to get a hold of, and he will definitely get you on the process and keep you going. And again, just to show you some of the tricks, it's easy. Just got to get it off your head, get it out somewhere. One of my books I wrote mostly from emails that I sent to people who asked me questions about their dogs. And so what I did, I had this bright idea. I said, well, gosh, there's so many things I want to talk about, but I recall a bunch of emails that I've sent over the last 4 or 5 years describing how to solve some of these problems. So I searched on my emails, because I don't delete any of my emails, which drives some people crazy, but I have tons of them. And thank goodness, because there were many emails that were like 2-3 pages long that essentially became chapters in my book. So it's really not as hard as you think it is. And you probably have tons of stuff on your computer that you've written from time to time that will help you through that process, because it is that important. I think the book, list, capturing your list, your story, and a book are 4 essential must-do things if you have a business at this point. Again, very little of that I see as super.
Let me warn people too, though, that if you do a book, be prepared, because it will change your life, and it will do so in unexpected ways. Certainly, if you have a book, it's an incredible opportunity when you're meeting with a prospective client to be able to say, oh, hey, here, let me give you a copy of my book. You know, do you want me to sign it for you? You know, and then get out and sign it and give them a copy of the book. More often, if I give someone the book, they ask me to sign it. They'll say, because I wouldn't have thought to do that. And they go, oh, do you want to, will you sign it for me? We've had,
it feels funny the first a couple times that somebody asked you to do that. But then you realize, hey, it's part of it.
It's the coolest thing. My business partner, that he and I wrote this, some random person came up to him at McDonald's and said, hey, aren't you like a big wig? Like aren't you kind of important or something? Like, you write a book or something, you know? And it was really, really funny. But what happens is it opens doors for you. People will take what you say with much greater weight. It's super, super powerful. If you have even an inkling of doing a book, then talk to one of us here, because we can give you some ideas to help it get out and be used, be leveraged. Even if it's a book that's not about pets and the pet industry.
Right. So let me next talk about one of the things you want to identify is who is it that you're trying to sell to. An important aspect of probably writing your book, if you want it to be directly, if you want to speak directly to your customer. And we use the term avatar. This is a term we use from a friend of ours who teaches marketing and that type of stuff, that the avatar is your perfect customer, like the customer that you love selling to. So mine happens to be a customer by the name of Sally Frost. She's my perfect customer. She loves everything I do. She follows through with everything I say to do. She goes on from the one, like from the basic. She then wants to, come into the intermediate class. She then wants to do the advanced class. So she's that customer that just really loves what we do and follows through and does all the stuff. So I want hundreds of Sally Frost. So that's my avatar, my perfect customer. She's also the person that's in the pain that requires the product or service that I offer. So not only is she the perfect person for who I want to work with, but she also is in the position that she needs whatever it is that I'm selling. So if it's dog food or if it's a dog toy, it's somebody who needs a solution for a dog toy, and it's your perfect customer. That's what I'm talking about, that person who needs exactly what it is you're having to offer. So when you are identified your avatar and the pain that they're in, that will dictate the market you're going to be speaking to, the message that you're going to use to reach that person, because you want to know who it is you're speaking to. I remember when I had my when I first started my website for my dog business, because I was a police officer, I thought that my website should have all kinds of explosions and police pursuits and that kind of stuff. And then somebody that came to my website who wanted dog training for how to get their dog to stop peeing in the house, when they go to my website, it really didn't speak to them, right? So I would lose them right away. So that's the message. My message was incorrect for maybe a 60-year-old woman who has a dog that's peeing in her living room. When she goes to my website, she's not seeing the message. And the media that I used, which was videos with fast cars and lots of explosions, stuff like that, that media was wrong for that customer also. So once I changed the Sally Frost, my website changed entirely. The way that I spoke changed entirely. What I was identifying for people to the reasons why they needed to buy what it is I was offering changed completely once I figured out who my avatar was. It will also help you create your Facebook ads, what pictures you're going to use on your Facebook ads, and what you are going to say on your Facebook ads. Just remembering your avatar will change from time to time as their pain changes. Like I said before, if they have a young puppy in the beginning and their perfect avatar, then they're going to change, because eventually their dog is going to get older and they're no longer that perfect customer with a puppy. They're that perfect customer with an elderly dog. How do you think about an avatar and how it should be used, Everett?
Yeah, I think it's really important, and if you don't spend some time clarifying who your avatar is, all your other stuff is off. You'll say the wrong things in your emails. You'll use the wrong images in your advertising. You'll create the wrong products. I mean, think about how expensive it is to not understand who your customer is. Now, let me caution people. Most people think they know their customers really well. In fact, I've met very few people who would say, I don't really know my customers, right? Or I don't really know what my customers need. You've been in your industry, many of you have probably been in your industry 10, 20, maybe 30 years, or maybe you're just starting in, but you probably have a pretty good handle on who your customer is. But don't stop there. The assumptions that you're engaging in, some of them are almost certainly wrong. And so you need to learn more about your avatar, and there's several ways to do it. One of them, I mean, your avatar is giving you feedback all the time, right? Your market hopefully is giving you feedback, certainly in whether they're buying your product or what complaints come with it or compliments come with it. But you need to be really, you need to engage in a positive campaign of learning more about your avatar and your market. That's surveying people. It's engaging with them one-on-one. It might be, if you've got customer service people, then it may be asking them to ask their customers questions, that would probe more deeply into them. You're probably going to find some nuggets there you didn't know, and some of those are going to be super valuable, either in creating new products that will speak to their real needs you don't know about, or that will cause them to be customers for longer, because you may discover things that your avatar is unhappy about, either about you or the whole market segment or the product offering.
Right. You segue perfectly into the next thing.
Well, that was entirely by accident then.
Engagement is the new SEO. First of all, tell me what. How do you feel about these guys that say they're SEO for your websites and that kind of stuff? Is that still alive, or do you think that's dead now?
Okay, so first let's define what SEO is for those people who don't know, and that's simply search engine optimization. It historically was things that you did to your web page to make Google feature it more, rank it more highly. And that used to be able to be done. You could hide keywords in your text. You could do tricks with your pictures and links from other websites and links to other websites. And there were all these tips and tricks that were done on the web page in order to make your page rank better. And the reality of it is that, of course, once people learned what Google's tricks were and started to trick Google, after a while realized what tricks they were, people were pulling to trick Google, and they changed the algorithms. And they don't publish the algorithms. They keep those things very secret. So over time, all of these strategies that people have used to improve their web page ranking, those have really deteriorated in their effectiveness over time. In fact, they've become less and less effective as Google has become more and more sophisticated and sensitive to people trying to trick them. And for that reason, other SEO methods are required. So Andy, that's my read on it. How about you?
I couldn't have said it better. That's exactly right. It's just, but right now, what we are experiencing is that engagement is the SEO. You need to engage with your audience. That simply is a must. And by using the things we talked about before, by having a list, right, having a way of capturing that list, having a story, and then a book is so much easier. And so once you have a list, you just need to engage with them by giving them stuff, videos that demonstrate what it is that your product does. So if you have a dog toy like Hurricane, one of our friends that we often see at the trade show, they have this great new toy that shoots a spinning little cylinder type thing through the air, and the dogs chase it. Those videos of showing that happening, and then maybe showing how it increases a dog's wellness by having this exercise and the stimulation of the brain, that kind of stuff. That's engagement, right? Anytime you can give them something like a video demonstrating the power of your toy and the change that it makes, or maybe even an interview with somebody that's used the toy and made a difference, or a dog food, a dog that maybe had itchy skin and hot spots and that kind of stuff. By using your food, your product, that change, their coat's a lot shinier, the dog looks and feels a lot healthier, and those are things. That's engagement also, in addition to giving them a free book. Creating, when you're engaging with your clients, you want to keep your avatar in mind when you're doing so. You want to make sure that you're speaking to them in their language, in what it is that you know your perfect customer wants to hear or wants to learn, or how they care about your dog or your pet, your bird, or whatever pet we're talking about. I talk a lot about dogs because that's what I'm a dog guy. And you want to engage with valuable stuff. That book is perceived value, right? If you're giving away a book where they would normally spend $25 on a book or $14.99 on a book, when you're giving it to them for free, they feel like they're actually getting something of value. And free increases revenue. That's one thing I definitely learned over the last 4 or 5 years, is that by giving away these things of value, it really has increased revenue. And it creates a relationship to the point where they want to buy from you. Remember, I was just talking about when I was on stage and sharing my soul with this audience of, I think it was probably 80 people, I think, Everett, that so many people, just as I was walking off the stage, when I was meeting them out in the back, everybody came up and had something to say about the talk that I gave, that was pouring my heart out and engaging with them. And that relationship I built on that hour that I was on stage just couldn't have been more valuable. And I still hear from people today. And then what you want to do is you want to automate the process of engaging with your audience, which is a whole nother lecture that we're going to talk about later. But because we are so busy, we're busy entrepreneurs and we're busy doing other stuff, right? We have to be HR, we have to be payroll and accounting, after all this stuff. You really want it to be automated, because you really don't want to necessarily be doing all this stuff all the time. But when you automate it, it just makes it more powerful. And again, we'll talk about that. I have some really great tools that I've experimented with lately and they really have made a difference. How do you feel about engagement, Everett?
Well, I was just going to say, it goes back to the power of story. The reason when you spoke and those people came up to you is because they were engaged with you. They resonated with your story, and so you connected with them at a level that, quite frankly, no pitch could ever connect to. You know, if you've been up there trying to offer some sort of product, those people will remember you and that feeling you gave them long after they have forgotten your actual story. That's the funny thing, is they will meet you years from now and maybe have forgotten the specifics of your story, but they just subconsciously, they're these warm fuzzies. And it's super, super powerful. So it speaks both to the power of story and how a story can be used to engage people. The same thing with the video with the dog toy. You know, I want one of those, by the way. That looks super fun. What's engaging about it is watching it be used, but watching the effect it has on the dog, the people around, you know, all of those things. What's important for people to recognize is that when it comes to websites or emails or, you know, any communication that you may be making, it's the authenticity and it's the real interaction that has value. Google sees through all the games that people play, but if people are coming to your websites and they're watching your videos, then Google wants to feature your website. If they're coming to your website and they're taking some sort of action, then Google wants to reward you for them taking action. And it's true outside of the Google world too, right? I mean, all the things that you do, Andy, that aren't about search engine optimization. They're just about engaging with people. Super powerful, very important and critical. I think those businesses that continue to engage with their clients will flourish. Those ones who decide that they can just step back and kind of be in just a transactional relationship with people, they'll fail. They'll fade into the sunset. And I don't think we want any of the people watching this to be in that spot.
No. Right. Well, that's one of the reasons why I created that the training program, Facebook Live TV show, is because Facebook Live right now is the best way that I have found personally to engage with my audience. That I come on live sometimes, you know, not every day, but 4 or 5 times a week. I'll come on live on Facebook Live talking about something that we're doing here, something we're experiencing. We have a dog that we're training for a mortuary. His name's Morty. Morty, the mortuary dog. And so we just come on live. Hey, this is what Morty is doing today, and this is what he's learning today, and we talk about that kind of stuff. Or we have had the dogs in Kuwait that were in a situation where unfortunately they were being euthanized, but we've helped, I think, the process of saving these dogs, and now dogs are being shipped here in the United States. And so that engagement allowed us to build an audience that was able to sign a petition, help those dogs. At the same time, it put us on the map with people. And it's one of those things that's, again, it's engagement, but it's also, what's the word I'm looking for? It's authentic. That's the word I was looking for. It's authentic. I cared about those dogs. When I first heard about those dogs, I went on Facebook Live with my hair all messed up. I think I was sitting on my couch. The tragedy that's happening in Kuwait, and I was like, just over the top, like pissed that this was happening to these dogs. But it turned in to a dialogue with some people there at the State Department. It then turned into a petition. But back to the idea of engagement, that's what I'm talking about. It really brought us all together as a community. Facebook page, Falco Canine Academy, and all the other pages that would not normally be possible except for the technology of today. And did it really take that much more time for me to do that than, did it take away from me training dogs? Not really. It was like 15 minutes going live on Facebook, very simple prospect. I don't have to download any video. I don't have to edit any video. I just hit play and I start talking about these dogs in Kuwait. So you're not doing Facebook Live, I think that you're missing an opportunity. And again, it doesn't matter, I think, which business you're in, that you have a story somewhere in the world about what it is that you're selling or the product that is that you created, that you can create this engagement with your audience using one tool, and that's Facebook Live. And if you want to learn any more about that, you just go to facebooklivetvshow.com. facebooklivetvshow.com. You go to that website and it's a training course to help you out with that. But even if you don't want the training, just start using Facebook Live. I think it's very powerful.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the ultimate and easy method in which to engage with your social media people. And nowadays, Facebook is getting more and more mercenary about how they even allow you to reach the people who, even those who like your page, those who have said, hey, I want more information or I want to follow your business. Now, Facebook has always favored those people who engage with video, and they're doing it even more. It's like right now, if you make a post and you do it in text only, you can almost guarantee 99% of your followers won't see that. If you add a picture to it, it's far more likely to be engaged. Add video, it's in multiples more likely to be engaged. Do it through Facebook Live, and Facebook wants to reward you because let's be real. Facebook wants as many eyeballs on Facebook as possible so that Facebook can make money off of all those little ads that are run down the side of that page. So anything that will get more people on Facebook and to have more people on Facebook longer, Facebook wants to reward. And what will have people on Facebook more and for longer, then what will be more effective at that than live video, for crying out loud. So you can see why Facebook rewards it. You need to ride that wave, I think.
Right. And just to kind of give you an idea how powerful Facebook Live is, another live streaming platform was one called Blab. You may have heard of it, you may not have heard of it, but about 6 or 7 months ago, they had millions of people using Blab. Well, today, because Facebook Live is just really taking over, Blab, I think it was yesterday, the day before yesterday, just shut down. They just went away. And it's done. It's over. They pulled off the app. They pulled off their website. They're no longer. They just don't exist. They just.
Andy, how'd you find out about that?
I don't know. I think I got a message either on Facebook or somebody sent it. I read the article immediately.
I found out about it. I found out about it from a post within our mastermind group. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known about it. You would have, because you follow everything Facebook Live, but I don't. So. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great tool, and they're putting everything that they can into Facebook Live, and they're taking over the planet. Now, whether you agree with that again or not, that is not the important part. It's like people that don't like iPhone because it's an Apple product because they hate Apple for whatever reason. What you have is a business owner that's trying to get out your message. You have to understand that these are the platforms that people are on, and you have to go, in order for them to see what it is you have to sell. And whether you hate Facebook or whether you hate, being a part of something that's kind of taking over the world, just remember you're in business, right? It's like trying to sell to people that don't have money, right? That's what I used to do. I used to try to sell to people that didn't have money all the time. It was a horrible way for me to earn a living, right? But we feel guilty, or we feel like maybe our product isn't as valuable as we possibly think it is, so we lower the price, right? That's all silliness, right? If you hate Facebook, you're going to have to use Facebook because right now they are to be. That's where your audience is. Do you agree?
So absolutely, because I have hated Facebook. Sometimes I still hate Facebook. And I was, as much as I'm an early adopter with a lot of technology, I was a very late adopter with Facebook, in that I was, quote, present on it. I had an account and stuff like that, but I never did anything with Facebook because I considered it to be, it and all other social media, to be a huge time suck. And I'm far too busy, and I have more important things to do than to watch someone's funny cat video, even though I find them pretty entertaining. But I just did not want to engage in any social media because it just sucked the time out of me. And I'm sure that there are some business people that are watching this that feel the same way. However, it just so happened that I discovered that my target market for one of my product offerings was on Facebook. And the best way for me to get in touch with them and to nurture them and engage with them was not by email, not by direct mail, not by phone call, not by advertising, not by billboards, but not any of those things. It was through Facebook. And so I decided to engage in Facebook, and made all the difference in the world and helped us to create a really, really successful product offering because we chose to go where our target market was.
right? And I must admit, I'm kind of a one-way Facebooker. I put stuff up, but I don't read my messages as much as I should, and I don't read what other people are putting, because people come to me, hey, I saw you're on Facebook and I sent you messages, but you didn't send a reply. So, well, that's because I'm busy uploading video and doing Facebook Live. I'm not reading the messages, and and I'm sorry, but it drives people crazy that they see me. I'm on Facebook all the time, but it's usually because I'm posting stuff, pushing my business, engaging with my audience, and that kind of stuff. But I probably should do a little bit better job of engaging with my friends.
You're so famous in demand that you have 1 million people that message you. That's what it is. I have no problem keeping up with my messages, but I also am pretty bad about reading people's walls. Like, people will say, "Didn't you know about this? It was on my wall." It's like, no, I didn't see it, or on timeline or whatever it is. Yeah. So, but super powerful. So yeah, absolutely. But if that's where your market is, and if that's the best way to engage them, do it. And Facebook, with Facebook ads and things like that, you can do such incredible targeting to people now.
Right.
Oh my gosh. So imagine if you could send an ad to everybody in your, let's say, in your city, okay, but the only people you wanted to get it were people that were between the age of 50 and 55. They were male. They happened to like Dave Ramsey, and they expressed an interest in Labrador retrievers. You could target that tightly utilizing Facebook ads these days, and instead of going to direct mail and going, okay, we're going to mail this zip code or this neighborhood or whatever, instead being able to zero down so tightly. So Facebook ads and other social media advertising can be really powerful that way. Sorry, I was thinking about that part of the advanced class. I'm sorry, I went down there. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do some webinars that just specifically target some of these things to help people understand what's available, what tools they can use, teach people a little bit more intimately on these individual things. Right now, I just want to make sure and get the biggest things I saw were missing from the Super Zoo. So, but it's okay. You could go a little deeper if you wanted to. What I was going to say is that I was thinking about this analogy the other day, that if you remember back in the olden days, that the big signs alongside the freeway, right? The big billboards, selling something. And you got this freeway, the 91 freeway, which is our busiest freeway right here, just jam packed. It's just going by billboard ad, right? And you as the advertiser are hoping that you're going to grab the eyeballs of somebody who needs what it is you're selling at that very moment that they're going by. But what's really happening is people are pissed that they're sitting in traffic. They look at the billboard and they're thinking maybe it's something for sure that they need. But because they're occupied, they're listening to the radio, you're just hoping that maybe that the right circumstances they'll grab their eyeballs. But the way Facebook is now, with Facebook targeting and audiences that you can advertise directly to, it's like now that billboard now is a magnet. And only the people that are really interested in what it is you have to offer, that magnet, it just pulls them out of all the other cars and sets them right in front of that billboard and says, read me, because you need what I have to offer. That's what Facebook ads are now. It's taking that huge freeway, plucking out the people that really are interested in what you have to offer, and then possibly even need what you have to offer, and setting them right in front of your whether it's Facebook Live or a picture, whatever it is you have to offer. That's
an interesting analogy. I would even say it maybe a little bit differently, is that the power of Facebook ads allows, it's almost like if that billboard could instantly flip and be seen differently by all the different people on that freeway. So that this person here sees the ad for dog food because they have a dog of the appropriate age, and this person in this car sees an ad for a motorcycle, and this person here sees an ad for financial services, and this person, and it's all the same billboard. It's just it only people, it shows that which resonates with the person in a specific car at any given instant. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's a little bit mind blowing. You like yours better?
Yeah, we're at the. Yeah. I like it. So this isn't the end, but just in the end of what we talked about up to this point is that if you do all this well, you'll convert your prospects into paying customers while increasing your platform and positioning as an expert in your niche. So it's both those things. You're going to, by engagement, by putting them into these buckets and having a list and having these buckets of lists, you'll be able to turn those people, those prospects, into actual people that pay for whatever it is you have to offer and pick up your products. Again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a consultant for financial or you're selling a dog toy. It all applies. And then on top of that, you will become the leading expert, and you'll increase your platform by doing these things. It's the only reason I can tell you this for sure is because it happened to me based on what I was doing here. It's just we have 2 television shows in production with the major network, and it's only because I did these things, right? And you can only imagine what will happen once these television shows begin to air, right? They're looking like, just look at Cesar Millan. He was a dog trainer out of Mexico, training some dogs for some people. He happened to meet the right people. He then got on TV, and now he's world famous. Some people love him, some people hate him, but regardless, he's world famous. It's because he wrote books with his audience through the TV shows, and it's the same thing. You can do the same thing. I think some people think that it's not possible, but it is. Don't you think, Everett?
Well, yeah. In fact, here's the deal. What I want to know is, is there going to be a public stock offering for Andy Falco Incorporated? I think I want to buy in. I want to buy in while the stock is a little bit more affordable. Or it's going to be like Amazon now. Amazon stock's up at like $750 a share or something. Yeah, I mean, you're on a rise, and people can do the same thing you've done. I mean, we certainly know there are better looking people than you out there, and and this can certainly, they'll do way better. No, sorry, that was rude. Right. I apologize. No, absolutely. And Andy, I wanted to, if you don't mind, I wanted to talk a little bit about something about what we've been doing together. Is that okay? Is this a good time to do that?
Yep, that's exactly what I want to talk about, because I think it's important, because again, I think people are like overwhelmed, like, oh man, all I want to do is sell my product. I don't want to have to do all this other crap.
Right.
But yeah, there's a great solution, and that's one of the things that we do, and that's one of the things that helped me for sure, is what it is you're going to be talking about. So go at it.
So Andy and I and an incredibly smart and visionary woman named Verlinda Thompson have put together something that we call the Masters. It's a mastermind group we've been participating in together with other marketing experts and experts in various fields for the last several years. And I will say it's the one decision I made that made the greatest difference in my life and in my business. A few years ago, I was what I would call a wantrepreneur. I mean, I had a couple businesses, but they weren't successful. I had heard about a mastermind group before. If you're unfamiliar with it, it's a term coined by Napoleon Hill, where he talks about how if 2 or more people get together and put their heads together to think about problems and things, ultimately out of that will come an additional mind, a mastermind, that is far smarter and more gifted than any of the individual elements. And by engaging with this mastermind, you can accomplish more in a year than you might otherwise in 5 or 10 years. I had heard about a mastermind group, but I had never participated in one until about 3 years ago. And it's made a huge difference in my business. I now have clients on, I've enjoyed clients on 4 different continents. I've had the opportunity to travel internationally on several occasions in the furtherance of my clients' businesses. And it's made a dramatic difference in my business. And the reason is because this mastermind group, including all of these different members, includes people who have been where I need to go or have encountered problems that I'm going to encounter. And at the same time, I have the opportunity to help them because I've encountered things that they are going to encounter. The sum total of all of us is so much more powerful than any of us individually. It's just been phenomenal, and it's been incredible, Andy, to watch to watch you and the things that you have done. We've all, in fact, every member of the group that I can think of has gone through this exponential climb while participating in this whole mastermind group process. Has that been your experience too? I think you're muted. Did you mute because of dogs? Andy, I can't hear you.
And again, I had to mute. I didn't want to cover.
There you are.
Sorry about that. The dogs are barking again, so I muted it because
By the way, that means we'll do that next time. That means you're muted. Sorry. Go ahead.
Darn dogs. I can't wait till I get into a real studio. Yeah, for sure. I was definitely the dumbest person in the room when I first went. And I felt kind of like, oh man, I'm just, only thing I'm doing is taking. I'm not able to give anything. I think by the third day, I actually maybe came up with an idea or two that was helpful to the rest. But it was the perfect place for me to be, because I was just like, oh, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. And it was about that time when I was trying to figure out what a list is and how do I capture a list, and all the stuff we just basically talked about. And then the snowball begins to grow, right? Everything starts to roll and go, oh, wait a minute, I'm a little smarter than I think. And now I can do certain things now that I didn't think that I could do before. And the technology isn't as scary and hard as it was before. And so, and being able to call upon you guys, there's what now, 30, how many people are in the mastermind? 30?
Yeah, 33.
And you can call to anyone who has this expertise. So Carrie Smith, who has an expertise in a CRM platform, I could call her because I know that she will have the answer that I'm looking for, or that I need, or the direction that she'll send me in the right direction to find the answer or to actually solve the problem. If I need, some information on Facebooking, we have people that are experts in Facebook. Victoria, for instance, is an expert in Facebook. If I need, somebody that knows how to write books and launch them, I go to Everett and say, Everett, I got this book. I'm kind of stuck on this place. I forgot which button to click, or I forget, what's the timing? What day is the best day to launch your book to get best-selling status? And Everett has the answer. So
we've got Melanie, who's a queen at Facebook. We have another person. I'm sorry, that was Melody, and then we have Melanie, who has owned several TV stations and is all about presentation and posture. You have people in the group that are more experienced in business contracts and all of these things. Other people that are in more traditional advertising, and you're right. It's like we cover each other's blind spots. I feel like I have no blind spots, in fact, because of this group, and the way we come together every 2 weeks to continue to build each other, and then our retreats, of course. So
yeah. Yeah, those are fantastic. But I was just going to say one more thing. So for me, it's myself and Carlene, my assistant. And I got some peripheral people. I got Sally, who is somebody who else helps out, but she's not a paid employee. And I got Em right now, who's helping with a dog. But, those people I can turn to. But it's almost like I have 35 other consultants that work for me, essentially, that I can contact based on whatever it is I need at that time. Now, we don't use all of their time and take up hours of their day, right? Usually it's a real quick, I need help understanding, this Facebook ad. How do I make like audiences? Where do I go for that? And that answer will be answered for you, pretty easily. And if that person's busy, there's usually somebody else. So that's just an example. But the growth and they make you feel so good, and they'll even identify things. Sometimes we get so close to our project that we fall in love with whatever it is that we put together, right? It's just like, oh, I know for sure that this is what it's supposed to look like. And then sure enough, somebody like Everett will go, no. Did you think about using this? I go, no, I love this. No, it's not going to work, right? And you come up with like, try this first. Just, try it and see and sure enough, I almost said something else. Sure enough, you're right. Right? I needed to do that. And so sometimes we get too close and you need somebody to kick you in the butt. We call it a hot seat. See, you say, this is what I have to offer. And on the hot seat is the best place to be, because they'll identify things, they'll show you things, or they'll see something that you just completely missed because you're looking at it from a completely different point of view, mostly because, we fall in love with our own. Don't you think the hot seats are one of the best things that we do?
Yeah, in fact, if people have come, what they do is they They present their problem or challenge or product or idea to the group. They become the focus of everyone's attention for the next 20 minutes or something like that. And then the group just is able to focus in on what their issue is. And it's incredible because I can't think of a single time where people haven't presented a challenge or an idea on a hot seat where they didn't just come away blown away by the response they got. In fact, normally they'll record it on their phone, or we'll record it for them so that they can refer to it later, but it's been powerful. And this is something that we do at our retreats. What we do is a couple times a year, we'll go to a cool place like Yosemite or Aspen or the Dominican Republic or Carmel by the Sea. We'll spend a few days there eating food cooked by our gourmet chef who comes with us and doing incredible activities while building our businesses. It's this unique mix of play and work that causes the people in our group to bond in such a way where we are not just connected by a mutual intellectual desire to help each other, but we are connected at the heart with a deep-seated sense of caring and love for each other, quite frankly, that has caused the group to come to bat for each other and members throughout the rest of the year. It's really been fantastic. And Andy, you've been a huge part of making those retreats and the overall group really stellar. Really stellar.
Thank you. You know, one thing that just recently, one of the people there, Jim Butts, and I've been able to spend some time with Jim. He's in our mastermind group, and we've kind of connected. And one thing that he's really been pushing me to do is be more of a critical thinker, thinking outside the box, and really think about, you know, you have A, but what is, what created by A, for other things to happen. And I just want to give you an example really quick. And I thought of Jim when I heard this aspect. And it's really important for us to begin thinking. And I just want to share this with all of you that are watching, because you may want to think about your business and some of the things that you've never thought about. What is your product in effect, and what else is possibly out there? So Pokemon Go is an app that just obviously came out. You've all heard about it. You know, people are like watching their phones and walking into traffic and getting ran over because of this Pokemon Go. It's just gone crazy. And if you were to thought, like, what else would be affected by this app? I'll be able to profit from. Do you know what I'm talking about, Everett?
Yeah. No, go ahead. I want to know. You got me.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm ready to write it down.
And so the other day was somebody was talking about Pokemon Go.
What URL do I need to go buy so that to make money off of this $1 million idea?
No, too late. So Pokemon Go, and this thing's going on, blah, 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 and it's all over the place. And I can see kids walking on the street using it all day. The one thing that Pokemon Go has impacted and said they have seen 200% increase since Pokemon Go has became popular. Do you know what that is, Everett?
People walking in parks?
What was that?
No, I lost you. Your audio's gone. Oh, there you go.
It's coming back now.
People walking in parks?
Has increased 200%?
Yeah. That was my guess. Walking through public parks. Walking.
No.
What?
Portable chargers for the phone, for the smartphones. Portable chargers.
Okay.
And that's the thing. And so that's the thing that Jim Butts brings to the thing. He says, listen, you got to really think when you see something, think about what else could be impacted, what else could come from this. And it's just so true, because we are talking about oh my gosh, everything's getting automated and there's going to be robots and all these jobs are going to be lost. And all this guy said, well, no, what's going to be created because of the robot? What is it that we need to be looking at? And that's one of the things that I'm talking about in regard to your product or your service, that look at, okay, you got this thing, now what? Now what else maybe you could come up with that will support what it is that you created, and begin to not be so focused and narrow-minded. And I think that's one of the things the mastermind brings, is that sometimes you need people to be looking at what you have and going, hey, have you thought about, and once you solve that problem, what do you do with that customer next, right? What is the next thing? So that critical thinking, I think, was the important thing that I took away from the mastermind. Jim Butts in particular bringing that up to me and saying, listen, you really got to think about the other side of things. What is your product impact? What does it either take away or what does it create that you can kind of come in and offer or sell and just be aware of, because that could be, you know, something that you can use in marketing. It could be something you can use to increase your revenue and that kind of stuff. So that was just an example I wanted to give you really quick. I had it here ready to go.
No, and I know we're trying to end this, but it's such a great example. Yeah. It's just remember the value of one idea, right? And that's a perfect example of the value of one idea. And it reminds me of that story, and I don't know if it's just urban legend or not, but I mean, I heard this was the guy that came to the CEO of Coca-Cola, you know, when Coca-Cola was a beverage that was only sold through drugstores, and it was only on tap. And he came and he said, so I have an idea for you, but if I give you this idea, I want you to pay me, you know, like 1% of the value of the idea. And the idea, of course, was, all he said was bottle it, right? Take Coca-Cola, put it in bottles. The value of that one idea, okay, is worth not thousands or millions, but billions of dollars for that one idea. Now, I don't know if that story is completely true, but I'm sure someone in the audience does. But think of the value of one idea. The beauty of a mastermind group is meeting on a regular basis with people who have other experiences and other areas of expertise to help you develop that one idea. And the truth of the matter is it won't just be one idea. It will be lots and lots of ideas to help further your business.
Yeah. Well, that hot seat, going back to the hot seat in San Diego 5 years ago, is that I was in love with my website. I was in love with, you know, some other stuff. I can't remember all the stuff I was doing. And they just said, no, it's wrong. And in front of like 400 people, they told me that my website was, you know, horrific and needed to change, but it was tough love that just really changed everything. And so that's sometimes what it is you need. So anything else?
Yeah, I just was going to make this offer. Andy and I had talked about this before the webinar, and we realized that we probably should not be hogging all the goodness of a mastermind group, and that there are probably some people watching this video. Certainly, if you've watched this video to now in this, then you're engaged with what's going on here and you find this interesting. We have room for a few people in our mastermind group, not many more, just a few. And if you think you, A, would benefit from the mastermind group, and B, that you're open to sharing your expertise as well, and you enjoy pouring into other people, that you both enjoy giving and receiving, if you're interested, then contact one of us directly to explore that. I mean, there is an application process because we don't open this to just anybody and everybody. There is also an investment. It's not a huge investment, but there is an investment in it. There is an application. And if you join the group, understand that we're going to ask you to come to one of our retreats. But we usually include the cost of the first retreat in the investment to be part of the group. And then you can join us in a beautiful place like Aspen or Yosemite or Carmel or the Dominican Republic or our next location, and enjoy gourmet food and activities while learning incredible things from your fellow mastermind members. So if that's
we don't eat Pop-Tarts for breakfast. We eat stuffed what is it? French toast stuffed with blueberry.
Yeah, that was it's been incredible every time. But anyway, so if you're interested in that, then contact one of us directly to do that. Andy, what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Well, I think right now, because unfortunately the webinar jam failed me again, you just go to Andy at FalcoK9Academy.com. Andy at FalcoK9Academy.com. That's the best way. And just send me an email message, or you can go to our Facebook page, Falco K9 Academy Facebook page, and just message me from there. I will read the messages because now I'm committed, because I told you I would, and I will see it. So you can private message me there. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, Everett, where do they go?
Post office. I usually have a flyer up on the wall. They change it every week. It's got my picture on it, and it's always got a good way to reach me. No, actually, you can just send me an email, info at thesolutionmachine.com, info@thesolutionmachine.com. That usually works for me. Or Google me. You'll find me. In fact, either of us. You can just Google us. You're going to find our books, our websites. You'll find us on Amazon. You'll find us, hopefully not in the post office.
And that what we're telling you is true. That's the one way to do it, right? Just Google our name.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of crap comes up with our name.
Yeah.
And we're engaging, right? All right, Everett.
We're not famous enough yet, though, to have websites saying the dirty secret about Andy Falco. Like we haven't hit that mark yet. After your TV shows, you watch. You're going to get those out there. There'll be people marketing their products on your name by saying, "Learn the dirty secrets of Andy Falco."
I'm in copy right now. I have a lot of dirty secrets. It's it'll be fun reading. It'll be another book.
Yeah.
24 years on the police force. Who knows what people write about you. There was all kinds of stuff. I used to handle sex crimes, and you should hear what the child molesters used to say about me. What a horrible person I was, because I used to paper them to get them out of the neighborhoods, and they hated my guts.
Nice. Nicely done.
Yeah. All right. Well, Everett, thank you so much. To those of you that stuck with us. I'm so happy you did, because this technology thing isn't perfect, but we are going to get down and find out why for a second time we got shut down on our webinar jam. But that's all for us to worry about, not you. And we definitely will tell you when our next webinar is, and we're going to dig a little bit deeper on certain subjects, and we will get you well trained and get you up and running with your product or service. Sound good, Everett?
Sounds great. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks, Andy, for having me on.
All right. Talk to you guys later. Take care.